Hello, I hope all is progressing well. Welcome to I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It, where we discuss myriads of topics civilly, reasonably, and responsibly. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Our first topic is about equitable grading. The article discusses how research is exploring equitable grading. How might that look in an educational environment? What might that mean for students? Observing perspectives from teachers that prefer to have a voice than not, especially regarding what pertains to the work the teachers have to do. Now, regarding what extends from equitable grading is what is extremely important. When I think of equitable grading, I think of individuals having equal opportunity to do equal work to receive equal treatment. Now, equitable grading is not necessarily under that definition, nor does equitable grading seem to operate within parameters of that definition, of that understanding of which I mentioned. Even considering that equitable grading may prove somewhat flexible in regard to how an educational environment seeks to implement, to define equitable grading, the reality of what institutions may be observing aligns with how opportunity is being present and how the treatment of opportunity is going to be comparatively at other points in a student's life. Even considering how equitable grading might affect individuals implementing equitable grading, it is important to recognize how behaviorally, how professionally that may prove. I find in dismissing the reality of educational environments at large, considering what assignment protocols may be for a work environment, regarding how one might be able to treat oneself when working with one's own projects. I feel as though equitable grading may create an area of understanding that one needs to be able to deliberate from. I find that if an educational environment is offering many opportunities to complete an assignment, what does the educational environment say about time management? What does equitable grading provide for individuals that have to engage with the world at large that does not operate by equitable grading? Which is not to dismiss the reality of being in an environment of which is emotionally intelligent, where one may find parameters to succeed on time, to succeed better, to succeed more efficiently. Consider if an individual is seeking to meet a due date for a proposal in an environment that operates with entities in competitive industries. If an individual does not have time management skills to adhere to responsibilities, how might the individual be in operation with the work environment that is full of individuals with reasonable, decent time management skills? Individuals that do not have an experience of equitable grading, though have an experience of perhaps setting a timeline of how to do things, creating a structure, organizing to ensure to fulfill a due date, to ensure to fulfill responsibilities, not to say perfectly though, decently. Operating in such a way is extremely different than creating a route, if one will, for individuals to have a no-fail opportunity. What is an educational environment entailing about success, entailing about trying, when an individual may have opportunity to succeed, though not for one particular assignment? When an individual may have opportunity to do well, though next time makes more of a connection between the realities of which the world operates through. Additionally, having equitable grading, considering one assignment, for example, may deter from the reality of how learning connects. So when an individual is operating with one homework assignment that may really just be a step to understand the next homework assignment, the individual may better learn by receiving what the individual receives than adhering to the next assignment, because the learning is continuous, the learning is connecting. Equitable grading may prove to be very challenging to what may be beneficial, especially if an individual does not have an awareness of how to manage beyond equitable grading. For instance, if an individual is like, oh, equitable grading is in this class and there are just equitable policies, so I'm able to do this, and I understand that it's not going to be like this when I have to go to high school or college or any other area that extends with education. And with such a mindset, one may be glad to receive what may be for one an easy grade, an easy class. Now, there are clear differences when there are late policies that may adhere to a certain percentage for every day an assignment is late up to a particular point. There are ways to encourage individuals to do well in school, though so much of equitable grading seems to rely on an educational environment which does not necessarily balance what an individual may be going through other middle grounds. An educational environment is a middle ground. A home is a middle ground. The path an individual walks between different places, these are all middle grounds to consider. So, equitable grading is not necessarily benefiting an individual's growth, especially considering if an individual is operating through equitable grading, how does that help an individual balance against what an institution may be observing from other competitive students, from other competitive recruits? If an individual is coming from one school that a college recognizes as a school that implements equitable grading, or a high school recognizes as a school that implements equitable grading, then has to decide between that student and another student that does not operate through any entity of implementations of equitable grading, and that individual from that school is partaking in extracurricular activities and doing well, the balance is extremely different. Even if the individual from the school operating without equitable grading is a B- student, a C+ student, in a comparative process against a student in a school that operates through equitable grading implementations, and that student through the equitable grading implementations is a B+ student, A- student with no extracurricular activities, the variances are extremely apparent. I think equitable grading may prove extremely challenging in myriad ways, especially as decisions need to happen in connection with individuals going through educational environments implementing equitable grading versus educational environments that are not implementing equitable grading. These are situations that need adherence, because being able to operate realistically is the most fair, most honest any educational environment may do for the clients, for the students, for the individuals seeking to understand how to grow through the educational environment's resources. The clients, the students, are individuals, are human beings that need recognition as whole human beings. So, to recognize only a student in a system which connects with the very robotic situation of education, because these students are not to be like nuts and bolts. These are human beings requiring particular treatment so as to grow well. So all of that which extends from equitable grading, from an educational environment that is seeking to boost the numbers, perhaps, another area of this conversation, may prove extremely challenging, especially considering how an educational environment might operate financially in a locale. Is an educational environment operating in implementing equitable grading as valuable as a school that does not implement equitable grading, though the school not implementing equitable grading has an average of B to C minus students that are doing extracurricular activities, whereas the students do the equitable grading, that school is operating, that educational environment is operating with B to A minus students that do not all seek recreational activities, the extracurricular activities. So there is a clear difference between these schools. There are clear differences between these schools, though how the presentation might seem from the outward observer attempting to look inward might be, oh, this school is doing really well in this area. No wonder the cost of living is this much. Though, looking long term, outcomes might prove better for the other educational environment. Oh, well, the cost of living there is not so high. Maybe it's because the school, though, looking at what the school produces, the school seems to be producing individuals that do extremely well and return to the community and help out the community. However these assessments may be, individuals need to regard what long-term and more spherically equitable grading connects with. There is great harm in infantilizing individuals. Individuals need to be aware of how to grow. That is a part of what an educational environment is to provide. Educational criteria. Ensuring individuals will be able to operate as efficiently as possible, reasonably, in the world that individuals live in, modernity. If an educational environment is not able to support that reality, then an educational environment is operating under disruptive measures. Educational environments are not perfect, especially considering legal parameters. Though educational environments are like technology, are in need of updating. So there is much that is possible to do, and of course there are definite needs of variances between public and private institutions, as well as other traditional and non-traditional forms of education. Our next topic is about a teacher implementing less use of Chromebooks, less use of technology within the classroom through devices of technology, mediums of technology, so as to better engage students with physical context. I am so glad about the implementation because I champion spatial development. Spatial development is extremely important. Individuals that are going through educational environments feel a difference between what working feels like with a device versus without a device. Now, the teacher does mention the textbook is online. Understandably, though, even learning with the textbook in person is going to differentiate greatly from learning online. So the teacher seems to be aware of spatial development. to a fair degree, and the students are focusing more. This is surprisingly common knowledge, though may not seem to be common knowledge. I'm thinking periodically, because spatial development is what good learning, proper culturing for human beings at younger ages tends to be popular. Spatial development is what is of encouraging for growing humans. So as individuals continue to grow, the importance of being able to spatially engage and improving one's spatial awareness is extremely valuable still, requiring spatial training, if one will, every single day. Of course, there are devices that affect how individuals may spatially connect, may spatially train, if one will, though the mindset in connection with spatial development being readily available allows for one to better engage with how one might be operating in the world of which one lives. So the classroom environment has different parameters, which I think is very, very valuable. The implementation of methods of note-taking, of how to do research, are connecting with what looks different in other educational environments, with what is more popular, more grounding with learning. Now, not just from a historical context, though of a modern context. Of course, what is online may prove convenient, which is great. I am not against using online resources. I am very encouraging of using the avenues of embracing the technological avenues that contribute well to one's health, that particularly connects with spatial development. So I'm just appreciating the article because of the teacher finding clearly the evidence of spatial development, improvement of focus. The other side of the conversation, of course, is how individuals use technology in the classroom because of other ways individuals connect with technology in other areas of life, which is what makes technology in the classroom of a different cultural sphere. Even if individuals may be with computers, technology set with a curriculum, only with accessible tools for what the curriculum necessitates, how one's mind might connect with the technology because of how an individual uses technology otherwise is what needs attention, because the relation with technology is what proves to be greatly affecting as well. All right, it's time for some origami. Now, I have an origami square sheet of paper. So I'm gonna fold this origami disappoint. Now, I'm looking to make the next fold edge to edge. I'm going to be making an origami course. And so for this, we're going to need to bring in all of these folds in here. We have our fold, like 2 diamonds on both sides. Next, I'm going to just fold up all the way, but then we're going to bring it back. We're just going to fold halfway, then fold that up. We'll do the same to the other side. We're going to just fold it up all the way. We're going to fold it down. We're going to fold it about here. Then we'll fold it up here. Alright. And as you can see, we'll have this formation. What we're going to do next is very important. Next, we're going to fold this tip the other side, where it's a single tip and it's closed. We're going to fold it down here just to meet this line. Just fold it nicely. You can fold it back and forth if you like. Right? Just to make sure that you have a really strong edge there. Then we're gonna open up all 4 of these. I'm just gonna open a little bit. We're gonna press the middle down. So we're gonna need this center to be down. All right. Now, once you get the center down, you can just close up the fold. Okay, so just got it in here. Boom. Close it up. And as you can see, now we have a depth here. Okay. We have a depth, and we're going to need that. Okay. So the next step is we're going to fold in, and we're going to start to fold out so that we can have the next form. Okay, so first thing is we'll fold about halfway. Okay. Then we'll fold all the way. We'll do the same thing to the other side. Fold this about halfway. Okay. And then we'll just fold it to the other side, just creating this deep crease. Then we're going to bring them back together. And what we're going to do next is we're going to fold this portion down just a little bit here. And we'll fold it up. Next, we're going to take this portion, the top here, we'll fold it a little bit. Okay, we're going to take this at the top, we're going to fold it a little bit. Alright, then we're going to just, once we open this up, we're going to fold this top down. We're going to have like a nice reverse. We're going to fold this back. Fold this in. Okay. And ta-da! We have our first step there. But there's more to this. So what we're going to do is, as you see, we have these wonderful flaps here. We're going to actually bring these flaps, we're going to reverse them in. So now we'll have more of a steed form here. Now you can leave this flap out if you like. You want to give your horse some wings. Though the instructions here, if you want to just follow them, you can just take that flap in that we have and just press it in and bring it. And this way, you'll see a difference in the form and how the horse will hold its foal. Next, we're going to take this portion here. As you see, we have this portion. We're just going to open it up. And we're going to fold each side in. Okay? So that means we open this area up, we fold each side in. And again, you can fold it how you choose. This is just following the instructions, because as you do origami, you can find your own creative pathways. And so as we come here, as you can see, they fold it in, and with this fold in, I just close it back up. And now what we're gonna do is just bend this portion here. Okay, you can bend it both ways if you like, here. And then we'll just go, voila, we have our tail. Ta-da. Also, what you can do is, if you like, you can give it a little bit more flexing here, a little bit more bend if you like, and really give yourself a longer tail, how you so choose. Also, you can get a little bit wavy. You want to think of the tail in the wind, and you can just apply a few touches of the fold here, and then voila, you can set your origami horse here to hang out with you. You have that stand, of course, the bottom stand for it, if you set it correctly. Okay. Just set it to the side here. Very, very nice. All right. Our next topic is about a book. I champion reading physical books because reading physical books is extremely beneficial long term for one's health. And as one reads a physical book, one's brain physically changes. So long-term health benefits from reading a physical book. The book today is Butter. Oh, what a mystery. What a journalistic, investigative crime thriller. The book is engaging economically with Japan, yes, though particularly connecting through Japan to detail cultures of eating, of marriage, of being a woman, of being a criminal, of being a journalist, of being in love. I really find the text gripping and so comical, if one will, descriptively, navigating what may be well worth considering for any attempting to navigate what life may be like through a relationship 10, 20, 30 years. Now, the idea in connection with the book, though aside from the book, is to culture one's own relationships, to create the relationship one wants to be in, to be mindful of how a relationship may grow, so as to enjoy a wonderful relationship long term. The book brings about so many parameters of relationships, not just romantically, that posit how one may determine what one may be needing to address in one's life personally, though what one may be engaging with externally beyond one's own life as one approaches relationships. Of course, the text does engage with celebrity culture to a large degree. So I find the degrees in relation to relevance, in relation to being, in relation to how these two terminologies balance, though differentiate, extremely important to navigate. How does one navigate one's being, one's life between all that is and all that might be? Thank you for joining. I don't know. We can talk about it. Onward and Upward, Kevin Dufresne.